Hello, everyone. Welcome back to World of Warcraft, and, hold on. I was thinking about this recently, and I was looking around, and I didn't seem to notice that anyone has ever actually done a video really about this. Just about this one particular thing in this game. At least it didn't seem to me that way. What I'm referring to is this book right here. So, we are in the Death Knight starting zone, Akris Hold, and the reason for that is because there is a book right here that I've always found very interesting and fascinating, and I think it's somewhat relevant, especially since we're about to head into Shadowlands, where I'm expecting us to find more lore involving the Scourge and the Lich King and all that. And plus, it's also written by a very notable character, and I so wish that there was actual audio for this. Like, God willing, if I ever somehow, some way met Michael McConaughey in person, or if, let's say, I ever got a chance to perhaps sit down with him and talk with him, you know what I would love for him, to do? To be able to ask him to do me a favor. And I would love to have him read this book, but, like, in the voice of Kel'Thuzad. Like, I would love to be able, like, would you be willing to do this? Like, and I could record it and be able to, like, let everyone else be able to listen to Michael McConaughey, the voice of Kel'Thuzad himself, read this book. Because this is in-game, it's actually written by Kel'Thuzad. There's just no voice acting with it. And I would love it if there was actual voice acting from Michael McConaughey for this book, in the voice of Kel'Thuzad. So, this is a book called The Decree of the Scourge. This is basically Kel'Thuzad trying to help people understand the Scourge better, in terms of, from an ideological standpoint. Why the Scourge, are what they are. Why people will, some people will willingly join the Scourge, So, The Decree of the Scourge. By the way, this is all this video is going to be about. I'm just reading this book, and then that's it. The Decree of the Scourge by Kel'Thuzad. Chapter 1. I'm going to try my best to actually try and replicate Kel'Thuzad's voice. The roots of the Scourge are sown in the folly of all races. Our rise to power is the product of the sins of those who mean our end, the so-called heroes of the land before us, by resorting... heroes of the land fall before us, excuse me. I have to get up close. The text is so... I want to be able to make this bigger. I don't know how. So, I have to get up close, make sure I read this small text. The so-called heroes of the land fall before us by resorting to a measure of our ideals to bring forth their envisioned victory. Their victory is a vehicle to the realization that without resorting to what they define as deplorability to achieve it, we would have overcome them instead. In both outcomes, win or lose, the Scourge invariably wins. When this is recognized, submission to our will is inevitable. The Master, our Lich King, was born under this very same doctrine. To conquer is to corrupt is to take what is to be righteous and hopeful to be living, and invert it through any means in your arsenal. The attributes of the living all have synonyms with fatal flaws that are their undoing. Hope is dogma, righteousness is zealotry, living is empathy. Recognize what makes that which lives desire to live, and turn it. Let me read that. Let me say that again. Read that again. Recognize what makes that which lives desire to live. That wording seems a little odd. Recognize what makes that which lives desire to live, and turn it upon itself. Okay, there we go. Took me a moment to really realize what he was actually saying there. Knowing the most direct path of corruption is the pinnacle of wisdom. A simple weakening of the heart, dismemberment of vital organs, or direct disease will work for most. However, the conqueror of most is not the decree of the master, but the conqueror of all. It is foolish to spend excessive resources in warping the mind of a simple peasant where common plague will suffice. But it is equally unwise to try the same common plague against the seasoned and hardy, regimented study of any formidability will reveal usable weaknesses. Chapter 2. The largest misconception of the living have of the Scourge is our penchant for what is considered evil. For the sake of demoralization, we allow this error to perpetuate, and indeed spread it on our own. The true nature of the Scourge is our transcendence of the shackles that keep any of the living races from becoming as prosperous as we. For example, what benefits do emotion and honor really hold? They serve to validate the living, to make them feel good. Now, what flaws do they hold? Emotion is directly correlated to the ignorance of logic and reason. Honor is at most times the sole perpetuator of able resources fighting a losing battle. It is baffling even to me that the living can be so unaware of how eager we are to play the part of their villain, to nurture their greatest flaws by becoming the embodiment of all that incites irrational behavior. Moral ambiguity cannot be cleansed. Antipathy cannot be healed or assuaged, greed cannot be dispelled, and wrath cannot be cured. We choose to be the embodiment of all these things, and yet there are some that still foolish enough to believe that the Scourge can be defeated and removed completely. So long as the most attractive sins of the living remain our banner flag, there will always be those eager to flock to our will. I myself was born under this doctrine. Chapter 3. The Scourge is infinite in potential. We are not, however, fallible by any means. Always be well aware of your limits and the resources at your disposal. Always have an exit strategy. Sacrifice of eager minions to your ends is a cornerstone of Scourge philosophy. All manner of bravery, martyrdom, or compatriotism for anyone but the master is imprudent and severely punishable. Another fallacy outsiders hold of the Scourge is that our power resides in the residual will of the living, that we are an advanced form of parasite, and without a host of regenerating life, would simply wither away. Again, we do not deny such ignorant thought for our benefit, but this could not be further from the truth. We are nothing but an ever-improving form of adaptation to a land once riddled with endless struggle. We are immune to the tribulations of dissension, overpopulation, individuality, selfish opinion, short-sightedness, and even morality. We hear the will of the Master, and the Master brings us all that we will ever desire. It is true that we take architecture, technology, and physical prowess from assimilated creatures. This, like the so many evil acts of the Scourge, is done entirely out of pragmatism. The Scourge has neither the time nor the desire to generate a culture of its own, A member of the Scourge that creates without influence will hold an inherent attachment to it, a right to see it viewed and used. This leads to individuality, which leads to dissension. Creativity is a flaw of culture, but a minor obligation when dealing with simple needs like buildings and equipment. It is not your duty to question or care of the origins of your resources, only in how usable they are. The Scourge is the will of the land. All manner of life kneel to our will with an ease that yields a single conclusion: that they need us, they yearn for our salvation. There is no resilience to our practices, no immunity to our commandments. We are every bit the inevitability that a natural life holds: death. Death comes with every life, and undeath comes with every death. The sooner the living recognizes this immutable fact, the easier their transition will be. Again, I would love to hear Michael McConaughey actually do this book in the voice of Kel'Thuzad. That would just bring such a huge smile to my face. So that is The Decree of the Scourge, written by the one and only Kel'Thuzad. I'll see you guys next time.